My Hero Academia, Chapter 244, Recommendation. So another sweet chapter in the beginning of this new arc we're getting into, the new internship arc, and how could you not like this? All of the best characters all coming together for one arc, or at least I hope they're all sticking together at least. Quite a few things to talk about, but I won't make it too long, so let's get into it. So it's picking up where the previous chapter left off, with Endeavor going straight after the Servant of the Stars, Glass Wizard dude. And I think this is reaffirming to us that Endeavor is extremely fast. Like, maybe not as fast as Hawks or like the high-end Nomus, because he kind of came off kind of slow in that arc. Not slow, but not as fast as them. And very vulnerable as well. This needed to show us that he is outrageous, especially compared to anyone who's not a top 10 hero. Maybe not even a top 5 hero, especially compared to the interns here, because Izuku's like, oh, he reacted to it so fast before the sound was able to even reach us. And him using his flash fire, he's even faster now, flying like a straight up superhero with a burst of fire. This is awesome. We needed more feats from Endeavor, because like I said, he was kind of vulnerable before, so we need to reaffirm that he is outrageous in power. So now let's get into this guy that he's going after, the Servant of the Stars. So we see that he has a glass manipulation quirk, which we kind of speculated what it could have been. When we saw him in the previous chapter, maybe he had some kind of just orb manipulation quirk. That's not it. It's just glass that he uses to make these orbs. So apparently this guy has been around this part of the city. Because when we see the workers commenting on him when he's like flying around, they're like, oh, it's that Servant of the Star guys from District 2. It's too early in the morning for this. So this probably means that he was just one of those, dudes that just stands on city corners, just screaming nonsense, preaching and whatnot. But he's finally taken action and decided to do, some crazy stuff as we see him here, doing just a random attack on the city and whatnot. And you might be wondering, like, why is he doing this all of a sudden? Well, I have a theory as to what is going on here. So based off of it, being established that he is known, but he hasn't acted on anything yet, I'm thinking that he was possibly given the quirk enhancement drug, the trigger drug that was introduced in the Chisaki arc, because when we do see a close-up of this dude, he has like the blanked out, zonked out eyes, and he's bleeding from his nose. This is similar behavior that we had of that dude that Kirishima fought that had the blades coming out of his body. Also, he's acting crazy. And his quirk is very impressive. I mean, so impressive, well, at least the use of it is so impressive, that Endeavor says you seem to be quite skilled. So I'm assuming that somebody slipped this guy Trigger, the quirk boost drug. And it's possible that it was Dabi. Just taking a guess here, because Dabi's usually the bagman for the League of Villains, or now the Paranormal Liberation Front. And also, it's possible that Dabi fed this guy the trigger drug so that he'd get him amped up, made him cause a ruckus, just because maybe the League of Villains or the Paranormal Liberation Front, they want to see what this is all about, because they did get one vial of it, or at least one vial of it, along with the quirk disintegration drugs, the quirk removal stuff that they pulled from Chisaki at the end of that arc. So maybe they're tampering around with it, maybe they're mass producing it now, because they have all of the aid of the Deka corporation, so I'm sure that they're working on it too. And also the doctor, we can't forget about Uchiko. He's probably the main manipulator of this stuff, and now they're just testing it out, seeing what it could do, spreading it around, similar to what Chisaki did actually. And they're starting with this dude, but they're also still going after Endeavor, because that was their original target, when they sent the high-end Nomu after him. And maybe they or Dabi or whoever fed the whole Endeavor being the root of darkness bit to the Servant of the Stars to, amp him up so that he has a target and he could just start spreading this propaganda about Endeavor, possibly. And also, this is probably foreshadowing what's going to happen in this arc, because we know that it's centering around Endeavor and the big three interns. So this whole root of darkness and the light that he radiates, it invites darkness, it beckons destruction. So this can mean a few things. So it could also mean like that because he he brought the high-end Nomu to him, it kind of like targeted him. Maybe this means that there's going to be more of that. Maybe we're going to see more of the high-end Nomus, or just more villains going after Endeavor because he is the #1 hero, and that now he has this big target on his back, and he doesn't exactly have the same kind of reputation as All Might. And so nobody really wanted to mess with All Might because he was essentially unbeatable. But as we've seen, and it has been proven, and it is public knowledge, that Endeavor is pretty vulnerable, especially when going against like a high-end Nomu, and we know that they have multiples of them, probably even stronger than the one that we saw back in the Pro Hero arc. So it could also mean that the dirt is going to come out from Endeavor. You know, his past history with his family, I guess you want to call it domestic abuse, domestic violence. It's not good stuff. And as far as I know, this isn't like big public knowledge, because if it was, you know, Endeavor would be held in way more scrutiny than what he currently is. He's kind of just, you know, implied to be just like everybody sees him as like this hard-nosed, you know, gritty, you know, no-nonsense type of guy. But if it came out that he was like a straight-up abusive to his kids and his friggin' wife, I mean, there's no doubt about it, this could change things. And maybe this, I don't know, pulls Endeavor from his rank. Maybe he's forced to resign or something. Now, that would be a little odd, because obviously the My Hero world doesn't work like our world, where if you just pull up a bad tweet from 18 years ago, then you're canceled. But it's kind of different here, because Endeavor is essentially the most powerful hero right now, and they need him. So I'm sure they're just going to let it slide if he was abusive to his family, because they need him for the greater good here. Now, I'm not saying it's right what he did. It's obviously not right, but it seems like Endeavor is honestly, you know, sorry for what he did, and he's trying to right his wrongs and become better. That's what the whole Endeavor redemption arc was about, and maybe it's not over yet. Maybe we still need Endeavor to have a redemption, because that whole stuff, like I said, hasn't come to light yet. So maybe this is the final part of Endeavor's complete turn to being a face. Maybe it's like he comes to terms with what he's done. He lets everybody know the dark past, the dark history that he has. But then also this goes back to possibly Dabi being the one doing this. Because maybe this is finally going to be the arc, fingers crossed, where we get the reveal that Dabi is Toya. You know, because we thought maybe we were going to get it in the previous arc, because that was centered around villains. But no, that didn't happen. So maybe this is all going to tie together, you know, his darkness. Maybe it's going to be revealed with the Dabi thing, or it could just be letting us know that this arc is probably going to revolve around another big threat going specifically after Endeavor. Endeavor being the darkness, you know, the light he radiates, it invites darkness, it beckons destruction. That could mean that. It remains to be seen, but something is definitely going to happen with this dude, and I am so excited to see where it goes. Another thing I want to touch on before we go any further is that when one of the little co-worker dudes, you know, when he's witnessing the Servant of the Stars pulling the glass from the buildings, he's like, we don't have time to wait for the heroes. I'm pretty sure this is showing us that, like, the whole Deka City incident, which is obviously public knowledge at this point, has influenced the citizens of the world. And they're like, oh, hey, you know, if the Deka City people took things into their own hands and they defended themselves against threats, then I guess we have to too. And it's like, it's inspiring them, motivating them to take matters into their own hands, which they really haven't previously done. Because, you know, how the quirk use is very regulated, and it's illegal to use it in a threatening or in a manner related to violence or whatnot, and that stuff is kind of regulated to heroes. But, you know, this is showing us that things are changing now, and this is probably going to be recurring. Like, we're going to see this influencing the public more and more. So let's talk about the other cool speed feat in this chapter, and it's when Endeavor is following the Servant of the Stars through that narrow alleyway. When he's coming out on the other side, we see the big three interns. They're right there about to help him out, you know, saving him from the homeless dudes back up that Servant of the Stars. They look homeless. I don't know. They could have homes, for all they know. But just his henchmen. And before they're even able to hit them, instantly Hawks comes out of nowhere and just intercepts them before they're even able to touch them. This is awesome. And also, like I said before, it's showing that there is a clear difference in abilities and just speed compared to the top two heroes and to just regular, you know, top students at UA. It is just awesome. I mean, if we didn't need any reinforcement on how friggin' fast Hawks is, if we didn't already know from the Pro Hero arc where it was established that he's likely the fastest current hero that there is, I think this is showing it for sure. So, speaking of Hawks, this is the first time that he's actually meeting the big three, as far as I remember. Maybe he met Shoto back in that arc, but the first time he's definitely meeting Izuku and Bakugo, which is pretty cool. So now all of these characters are getting acquainted, which is nice. And he's also letting us know that Tokoyami is currently interning with his sidekicks back in his home turf. So maybe Tokoyami will come back into this arc, possibly, probably not. Maybe we'll see what he's doing. But then also very interesting here. When he's talking about Tokoyami, he's like, well, I kind of feel bad about it. But as soon as he says bad about it, we cuts to the panel of him looking at Bakugo. Now, this could be showing us that maybe he actually did take out Best Jeanist, because we know that Bakugo interned with Best Jeanist. It was also brought up, 2 chapters back? Or maybe it was the last chapter, when Bakugo was seen looking at the computer, or the tablet, whatever he was looking at, and it was like showing that Best Jeanist was missing, and he was kind of, reflecting on it. So I feel that this is here for a reason, and it's probably showing that, like, maybe Best Jeanist did actually get taken out by Hawks. I mean, of course, we don't know the truth yet, and I'm sure there's more to it than just Hawks straight up taking him out. Maybe they're both in and on it together, or maybe Best Jeanist allowed him to kill him because he was going to die anyway from that lung damage, or that removed the lung that he got from his encounter with All For One, possibly. Too many theories to talk about here. So then it ends very interestingly with Hawks giving Endeavor the Liberation Army manifesto, and apparently he has highlighted a whole bunch of parts that he wants him to specifically look at, and this is of course because Hawks is trying to tell Endeavor that, hey, the Liberation Army is on the rise, and that I don't know how he's going to relay this information to him, but they've somehow combined with the League of Villains, and now they are the most powerful faction in the world right now. Like, way stronger than what the heroes have. At least I'm sure that Hawks isn't in denial about that, because, I mean, he was there, and he saw how strong just one high-end Nomu was, and they have way more than that. Aside from just the Nomus, the League of Villains, the Liberation Army, Giganto friggin' Machia, he knows about all of this, and he's trying his best to tell Endeavor about this, but in a secret way, so that he can also let Endeavor know that, hey, his hands are tied and he can't straight up tell him it. But also, this could be confusing to Endeavor. I mean, obviously it is. But Endeavor's reflecting back on that, that famous Hawks line where he's like, I'd like to live in a world where all heroes have too much time to spare. So maybe Endeavor is going to think the opposite. Maybe he's going to think that Hawks is truly on the side of the Liberation Army, or maybe he's conflicted or something. But I do think that Endeavor, there's a better chance that he's likely going to figure out what Hawks is trying to say here, especially if he reads the specific highlighted parts. Maybe they're going to shed more light and give him a better insight than what is revealed here. Because Endeavor isn't stupid, obviously. It's implied that he's one of the smartest, if not the most intelligent heroes. And he's figured out plenty of stuff before in the series, just through deductive reasoning. And he has all the resolved cases and stuff, regardless if that means he did it through brute force or through investigative work. He definitely knows his stuff. He's number 2 for a reason, outside of just being ultra powerful. So I'm pretty sure if anyone's going to be able to figure out what Hawks is saying here, it's probably going to be Endeavor. I just hope that it's not like Endeavor is just like, Hawks, you're evil, you're double crossing everyone, you're the traitor. But then Hawks has to like clear his himself, but then he spills too many beans possibly, or maybe Hawks is so ingrained to the government, aside from just being on the heroes and the Liberation side, that he probably fights Endeavor just so he doesn't reveal the true operation that he's a part of, possibly. Oh man, so many speculations. But let me know what you think about this in the comments. Where do you think this is headed? Do you think Endeavor is going to figure things out? And if you like the review, guys, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next